What if everything they told you about paying your dues was wrong? What if the newest person in the room, the one with the blankest slate, held the secret to revolutionizing the game? This isn't a theory. This is the story of how I, an intern with more ambition than experience, decided to not just fill a seat, but to redefine it, and in the process, prove that the greatest asset to any team isn't always the expert with all the answers, but the one who isn't afraid to ask the right questions. The hum of the office was a symphony of ambition, and I, Alex, was the newest, most nervous instrument in the orchestra. My first day as an intern felt like stepping onto a stage without knowing my lines. The gleaming monitors and the brisk pace of seasoned professionals were both intimidating and electrifying. This wasn't just another line on my resume. This was the proving ground. The first piece of career advice I ever received echoed in my mind: your attitude determines your altitude. So, I strapped in, ready for the climb, knowing this internship was my launchpad. The goal wasn't just to participate, it was to contribute, to add a unique verse to the company's ongoing song of success. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and mine started right here, with a deep breath and a determined smile. I was handed the standard intern starter pack, a mountain of orientation documents, a crash course in company software, and a tour of the break room. It was easy to feel small, to feel like just another face in the crowd. But I refused to let that narrative define me. I saw this initial phase not as a passive indoctrination, but as a critical intelligence-gathering mission. Every policy, every org chart, every casual conversation was a piece of the puzzle. This was the foundation of my professional development, and I was going to build it with intention. The modest expectations placed upon me were not a cage, but a hidden advantage, a low bar I was already preparing to soar over. Many see an internship as a passive experience, a period of observation. I saw it as a masterclass in disguise. My personal growth was my responsibility. From day one, I adopted a sponge mentality, absorbing not just the what, but the why behind every task. When asked to compile data, I didn't just input numbers. I asked what the data was used for, which decisions it influenced. This curiosity was my first and most powerful workplace skill. It transformed mundane tasks into strategic lessons. I understood that the difference between an intern versus expert wasn't just knowledge, but context, and I was determined to close that gap faster than anyone anticipated. This proactive approach wasn't about showing off. It was about genuine understanding. I started staying 15 minutes later just to review my day, noting down questions for the next morning. I treated every piece of feedback, no matter how small, as gold dust for improvement. This self-directed focus on skill development was my secret weapon. While others might wait to be taught, I was actively learning, connecting dots that others took for granted. The initial learning curve was steep, yes, but I was equipped with the climbing gear of a relentless, positive mindset. I wasn't just here to learn how to do a job. I was here to learn how to build a career. The moment of truth arrived not with a fanfare, but with a quiet email from my supervisor, Sarah. Alex, can you help with the Q2 market analysis report? The datasets are in the shared folder. This was it. My first real project. It wasn't leading a presentation, but it was the backbone of one. The quality of my work would directly impact Sarah's ability to strategize. The weight of that responsibility was a gift. This was my chance to apply all the success tips I'd been internalizing. Attention to detail, clear communication skills, and impeccable time management. I dove into the data with a focused intensity, cross-referencing sources and formatting everything for maximum clarity. I quickly realized the existing data was messy, with inconsistencies that could lead to flawed conclusions. The easy path was to process it as is. But good enough wasn't in my vocabulary. I took the initiative to clean the data, creating a small key to explain the discrepancies I found. When I sent the finished analysis to Sarah, I included a brief, professional summary of my findings and the steps I took to ensure accuracy. It was a small gesture, but it demonstrated critical thinking. I wasn't just a task completer, I was a problem solver in the making. This project taught me that excellence is often found in the details everyone else overlooks. A few weeks in, the initial adrenaline faded, and the reality of the professional world set in. I was sitting in a project kickoff meeting, listening to directors debate high-level strategy with acronyms that sounded like a foreign language. A familiar foe crept in, imposter syndrome. The voice in my head whispered, "What are you doing here? You're just an intern." It was a moment of profound self-doubt, a challenge to my personal growth. I felt the chasm between the intern versus expert status more acutely than ever. The polished confidence of my colleagues seemed like a distant shore, and I was adrift in a sea of uncertainty. This was a critical juncture. I could let the doubt paralyze me, or I could use it as fuel. I chose the latter. I remembered that every expert in that room was once a beginner. My value wasn't in pretending to know everything, but in my capacity to learn. I started speaking the language of growth. "Could you clarify that term?" Or "I'd love to understand the background of that decision." Instead of hiding my ignorance, I illuminated it with questions. This shift was transformative. Acknowledging the doubt robbed it of its power. This wasn't a setback, it was a necessary lesson in professional humility and resilience, a core component of true career growth. I learned that in the corporate world, the smartest person in the room is often the one brave enough to ask the stupid question. During a brainstorming session for a client campaign, the team was stuck in a cyclical debate. They were all seasoned experts, but their experience had created a sort of creative tunnel vision. They were refining old ideas, not generating new ones. Gathering my courage, I raised a tentative hand. "Forgive me if this is off base," I started, "but as an outsider, I'm curious why we're not approaching the problem from a completely different angle." The room went silent for a beat. I braced for dismissal. Instead, Sarah's eyes lit up. "Alex, that's actually a brilliant reframe. Walk us through your thinking." My fresh perspective, unburdened by years of how things are done, had just broken the logjam. That single question, born from a genuine desire to understand, unlocked a wave of innovative ideas. It was a powerful lesson in communication skills and the value of a diverse viewpoint. I wasn't just there to execute, I was there to think. That day, I realized my intern status wasn't a weakness, it was my greatest strategic advantage. I knew that raw talent and a good attitude could only take me so far. To truly accelerate my professional development, I needed a guide. I needed mentorship. I didn't formally ask, "Will you be my mentor?" Instead, I observed. I noticed that Sarah, a senior project manager, had a knack for explaining complex concepts with stunning clarity. She was direct but kind, busy but never too busy to offer a nugget of wisdom. My fresh perspective allowed me to question inefficient legacy processes without political baggage. I wasn't just a message carrier. I was a hub, a translator, and a catalyst for collaboration. The potential for the project was immense, and so was the pressure to perform. In the first Project Fusion meeting, the age-old problem surfaced immediately. The engineers spoke in technical specs, the product managers in user stories, and the marketers in brand voice. They were all saying the same thing but in different languages, leading to frustration. I saw my opening. During a debate about a feature's priority, I jumped in. "If I may," I interjected, "I think I can rephrase. Engineering, you're concerned about the scalability of that option, correct? And marketing, you need it to align with the Q4 campaign messaging. What if we explored a third option that sits at the intersection?" I acted as a human Rosetta Stone, translating concerns and finding common ground. My well-honed communication skills became the project's glue. I made sure everyone felt heard and understood. I followed up every meeting with concise summaries that highlighted decisions, action items, and owners. This proactive communication prevented dozens of potential misunderstandings. The department heads began to rely on me to keep the wheels turning smoothly. I was demonstrating that effective communication isn't about being the loudest voice, but the clearest channel. As Project Fusion progressed, we hit a major roadblock. The proposed technical solution was going to blow the budget, while the cheaper alternative wouldn't deliver the marketing impact needed. The project was at a standstill. The experts were locked in a binary debate. expensive and good, or cheap and ineffective. I spent a night poring over the data, the user feedback, and the technical constraints. My lack of preconceived notions, my intern's mind, allowed me to see a path everyone else had missed. I scheduled a quick meeting with the key leads. I've been looking at the analytics from our past campaign. I started, my voice confident. What if we shifted the core features delivery? We could build a phase 1 that uses existing, simpler tech to achieve 80% of the user benefit for 30% of the cost. This gets us to market faster, validates the concept, and funds a more robust phase 2 later. The room was silent, then erupted into discussion. My idea was a paradigm shift, a third way. It wasn't a compromise. It was a smarter, more agile strategy. The fresh perspective I brought had just sparked the innovation that saved the project. With my proposed solution gaining traction, I wasn't just the coordinator anymore. I was the de facto owner of a critical work stream. This required a new set of workplace skills, leadership skills. But I wasn't the boss. I couldn't command anyone. I had to lead from the side, influencing people over whom I had no formal authority. I did this through relentless preparation, unwavering support, and public credit. In meetings, I would say, based on Joanna's data from engineering, we can see, or David from product raised a great point that we can build on. I made sure everyone's contributions were visible and valued. I took on the unglamorous work of tracking dependencies and following up on blockers. When a colleague was overwhelmed, I offered to help lighten their load. This servant leadership approach built immense trust and goodwill. People weren't working for me. They were working with me, and they were motivated to help me succeed because I was so visibly invested in their success. I was proving that leadership skills aren't about a title. They're about influence, empathy, and action. After the breakthrough on Project Fusion, I had my weekly coffee with Sarah. "I'm proud of you, Alex," she said, a genuine smile on her face. "But remember, sustainable success isn't about one big win. It's about consistency." She then offered me a piece of expert advice that would shape my entire professional development. "Start thinking about your professional brand," she advised. "What 3 words do you want people to associate with you? Reliable? Innovative? Collaborative? Let every email, every meeting, every deliverable reinforce that brand." This concept of intentional branding was a revelation. It was about moving from reactive task completion to proactive career architecture. She also stressed the importance of soft skills. "Anyone can learn to code or analyze data," she said. "But empathy, adaptability, and the ability to navigate conflict, those are the soft skills that will make you irreplaceable." This mentorship session was a strategic gift. It forced me to lift my gaze from the day-to-day grind and focus on the long-term arc of my career growth. I was no longer just thinking about this internship. I was building the foundation for my future. Just as Project Fusion entered its most intense phase, I was hit with a perfect storm. A family member fell ill, my university finals were looming, and the project deadline was immovable. The pressure was immense, and for the first time, I felt my focus fracturing. My impeccable time management system was straining at the seams. This was the ultimate test of my resilience and a brutal challenge to my personal growth. The easy way out was to ask for a reduced workload, to step back. But I had committed to seeing this through. I leaned on the soft skills Sarah had emphasized, self-awareness and communication. I was transparent with Sarah about my situation without oversharing. I renegotiated a few minor deadlines and delegated a small part of my workload to a teammate, framing it as a development opportunity for them. I became ruthlessly prioritized, focusing only on what was essential. This period taught me that resilience isn't about avoiding stress, but about navigating it with grace and strategic support. By not crumbling under the pressure, I earned a new level of respect from my colleagues and, more importantly, from myself. My attitude and work ethic began to have a visible ripple effect on the team. My enthusiasm was, as the description promised, contagious. I noticed other team members starting to adopt some of my practices, like sending clearer meeting recaps or asking more why questions. The marketing director commented in an all-hands meeting that the collaborative energy on Project Fusion is a new benchmark for the company. I saw that my intern success story wasn't just about my own achievements. It was about elevating everyone around me. This was a profound lesson in team dynamics. Success in the modern workplace is rarely a solo act. By being a proactive, positive, and supportive team player, I was helping to create an environment where everyone could do their best work. My journey was becoming a case study within the company on how to effectively integrate and leverage young talent. I wasn't just exceeding expectations for an intern. I was helping to redefine what the company could expect from its interns in the future, creating a legacy that would benefit the next wave of young professionals. The final 2 weeks of Project Fusion were an all-hands-on-deck sprint. The stakes were high. The entire company was watching. This was where all the skill development, time management, and soft skills would be put to the ultimate test. Deadlines were tight, and the pressure was palpable. I became the team's calm center in the storm, using my communication skills to ensure no one was working in the dark or duplicating efforts. I organized working sessions, kept the shared documentation flawless, and made coffee runs to keep morale high. I also became a quality control checkpoint, reviewing deliverables with my fresh eyes and catching small errors before they became big problems. My ability to work under pressure, honed through smaller challenges, was now a major asset to the entire project. We were a well-oiled machine, and I was a crucial cog, ensuring smooth operation between the departments. The final push was exhausting, but it was also exhilarating. We were a unified team, driven by a shared purpose, and I was proud to be in the trenches with them, not as an intern, but as an equal contributor. Project Fusion launched. The wait for the results was agonizing. A week later, the senior leadership team called a special meeting. The head of finance presented the numbers. The room fell silent as he revealed the outcome. Project Fusion had resulted in a 15% reduction in operational costs for the initiative while increasing cross-departmental efficiency by 25%. The project was not just a success. It was a resounding triumph that exceeded all financial and operational targets. The data, which I had spent my internship learning to respect and analyze, now told the most beautiful story imaginable. The director then highlighted the key factors that led to this success. He specifically mentioned the agile, phased approach proposed by our team and the exceptional cross-departmental coordination and communication. He looked directly at me and nodded. My contribution, my third-way idea, and my role as the communication bridge had been formally recognized at the highest level. The intern versus expert debate was silenced by cold, hard data. An intern's fresh perspective had directly translated into significant, measurable value for the company. The following day, a company-wide email from the CEO landed in every inbox. The subject line, celebrating the success of Project Fusion and a standout team member. The email detailed the project's achievements and ended with a personal note. I want to give a special shout-out to Alex, our intern from the marketing team. Alex exemplifies the innovative thinking and collaborative spirit we champion. Their contribution reminds us that great ideas and leadership can come from anywhere in our organization, regardless of title or tenure. Please join me in congratulating Alex on a job exceptionally well done. My inbox and messaging apps exploded with congratulations. I was being stopped in the hallway by VPs I'd never met, who shook my hand and praised my work. This public recognition was overwhelming and humbling. It wasn't just about me. It was a victory for every intern who had ever felt underestimated. It validated the power of mentorship, the importance of soft skills, and the incredible return on investment a company gets when it empowers its youngest talent. My intern success story was now official, company canon. A formal meeting was scheduled with Sarah and the Director of Human Resources. I walked in, my heart pounding with a mix of hope and anxiety. They smiled warmly. Alex, the director began. Your performance during your internship has been nothing short of remarkable. You haven't just completed tasks, you've added tangible value, demonstrated advanced leadership skills, and become a true cultural asset to this team. She then slid a formal letter across the table. We would be delighted to offer you a full-time position as a junior project manager upon your graduation. The title was beyond what I had hoped for. It was a role that leveraged all the workplace skills I had honed. Sarah beamed with pride. This was the ultimate validation, a resounding vote of confidence in my potential and a direct result of exceeding every possible expectation. The countless hours, the moments of doubt, the relentless pursuit of growth, it had all culminated in this moment. The internship was over, but my career growth was just beginning in the most spectacular way imaginable. Sitting at my desk that evening, the offer letter in my bag, I allowed myself to reflect on the entire whirlwind journey. I had entered as a hopeful but uncertain student, navigating the classic intern challenges of imposter syndrome and information overload. But I had chosen a different path. I had embraced a mindset of ownership over my personal growth and professional development. I sought out mentorship, built a networking web, and focused relentlessly on developing both hard and soft skills. I viewed every challenge not as a barrier, but as a stepping stone. The key, I realized, was never seeing myself as just an intern. I saw myself as a future leader who was currently in a learning and proving phase. This shift in identity changed everything. It gave me the courage to speak up, to propose new ideas, and to lead from the side. My story wasn't about magic or luck. It was about a systematic and passionate application of the very success tips and career advice that experts preach. I had lived the theory, and the results spoke for themselves. In my final weeks, a new cohort of interns arrived. Seeing their wide-eyed, nervous energy was like looking into a mirror from months ago. Remembering the impact Sarah had on me, I made it my mission to pay it forward. I volunteered to help onboard them. I shared my story, the highs and the lows. I gave them practical resume tips, not just on formatting, but on how to articulate the impact of their internship projects. I emphasized the non-negotiable importance of communication skills and time management. I became their go-to person for the silly questions they were afraid to ask their managers. I was now on the other side of mentorship, and it was incredibly rewarding. By guiding them, I was solidifying my own learning and contributing to a more supportive, growth-oriented culture within the company. My intern success story was creating a new legacy, ensuring that the next generation of young professionals would feel empowered to shine from day one. Sarah and I had a final debrief lunch. From my perspective, she said, your success came down to 3 things. First, your intellectual curiosity. You never stopped asking why. Second, your emotional intelligence. You read the room and built relationships effortlessly. And third, your resilience. You didn't let setbacks define you. This expert advice from someone who had seen countless interns come and go was the ultimate analysis of my journey. She confirmed that the blend of hard skills and human skills was the unbeatable combination. She also reframed the intern versus expert dynamic for me. It's not a competition, she explained. The most successful teams are symbiosis. Experts provide depth, stability, and wisdom. Interns and young professionals provide energy, fresh perspectives, and a challenge to the status quo. You didn't outshine the experts by dimming their light. You added a new, bright light to the room that made everyone see more clearly. This was a powerful, humbling way to view my contribution. As my internship concluded, I knew the next step was to leverage this experience for my future. This meant strategically documenting my journey. I meticulously updated my resume and LinkedIn profile, focusing not on duties, but on achievements and impact. Using strong action verbs, I phrased my accomplishments like, spearheaded a cross-departmental communication strategy for Project Fusion, resulting in a 25% increase in team efficiency, and proposed an innovative phased development approach that reduced project costs by 15%. These resume tips I had learned transformed my CV from a list of tasks into a record of value creation. I also prepared for future job interview tips. I developed concise, powerful stories around my key experiences: the client presentation, the Project Fusion innovation, and navigating the cross-departmental challenges. Using the STAR, situation, task, action, result, method, I could clearly articulate my journey. This process wasn't just about packaging myself. It was about fully understanding the scope and scale of what I had achieved. I was now armed with a portfolio of demonstrable success, ready for the next stage of my career growth. My last day as an intern was bittersweet. The team threw a small party, and I was presented with a card signed by everyone, filled with heartfelt messages about my impact. The CEO even stopped by to wish me well. I cleaned out my desk, returning the keycard that had felt like a golden ticket months ago. The humming office that once intimidated me now felt like a second home. I had arrived as a question mark and was leaving as an exclamation point. I gave a short, impromptu speech, thanking everyone for their trust and guidance. I looked at the new interns and told them, "Your title is intern, but your potential is limitless. Own it." The circle was complete. I was passing the baton. I wasn't just leaving a job. I was leaving a legacy of what is possible when potential is met with opportunity and a relentless drive to learn and contribute. The chapter of the internship was closing, but the story of my career was just getting started. So, what are the ultimate takeaways from this intern success story? What is the actionable career advice for any young professional? First, mindset is everything. See yourself as an asset, not a liability. Second, be proactively curious. Don't just do your work. Seek to understand the business context around it. Third, networking is about building genuine relationships, not collecting contacts. Fourth, embrace mentorship. Find those who have walked the path and learn from them. Fifth, master the fundamentals. Impeccable time management, clear communication skills, and a sharp focus on delivering quality. Sixth, view challenges as opportunities for skill development and personal growth. Seventh, and perhaps most importantly, understand that soft skills, empathy, adaptability, resilience, are your superpower in a world of technical sameness. These are the non-negotiable pillars for anyone who wants to not just have a job, but to build a remarkable career. An internship should never be seen as a passive requirement to check off. It is a dynamic launchpad. It's a unique, low-risk environment to test theories, make mistakes, and discover your professional self. It's your chance to experiment with different workplace skills and identify your strengths and passions. The connections you make, the projects you own, and the challenges you overcome become the foundational stories of your professional narrative. For companies, this story is a clarion call to rethink how they cultivate talent. The greatest expert advice an organization can heed is to empower its interns. Give them meaningful work, provide clear mentorship, and create a culture where their voices are heard. The return on investment, as my story shows, can be astronomical. The next great idea, the next process revolution, the next leader. They might be sitting in your intern pod right now, just waiting for the chance to prove it. My journey from a bright-eyed intern to a recognized asset and soon-to-be junior project manager is proof. Proof that potential is not defined by a job title or years of experience. It's defined by drive, curiosity, and the courage to make a difference. You have that same potential within you. Your journey of career growth is waiting to be written. What challenges will you embrace? What questions will you dare to ask? What expectations will you not just meet, but shatter? This isn't just my intern success story. It's a blueprint for yours. The world is full of experts, but it is hungry for fresh perspectives, unwavering enthusiasm, and the relentless pursuit of better. So, go out there. Be the intern who asks, what if? Be the young professional who challenges, that's how it's always been. Your story awaits. Now, go write it. Months have passed since I walked out of those office doors, not as an intern, but as a colleague. The junior project manager plaque on my desk is a tangible reminder of the journey, but the real transformation happened within. I still carry the humming symphony of ambition with me, only now, I'm not just an instrument. I'm helping to compose the music. The lessons from those intense, glorious months are the bedrock of my daily work. The power of a question, the strength in vulnerability, and the undeniable truth that potential is not a position, it's a posture. But the most beautiful part of this story isn't on my resume or in my job title. It's the echo. It's the message I received just last week from a new intern in the design department, who said, "Hearing your story gave me the courage to pitch my idea in a meeting yesterday. They loved it." This is the ripple effect in action. My journey was never just about me. It was about proving a paradigm, about showing that an intern armed with passion, the right mindset, and a willingness to embrace mentorship can indeed become the most unlikely of heroes. The intern versus expert debate was never a battle to be won, but a synergy to be celebrated, a fusion of fresh eyes and experienced hands that creates something truly extraordinary. So, as you close this chapter of my story, remember this. The boardrooms, the labs, the studios of the world are filled with empty seats waiting for their next great occupant. Don't see a title. Don't see a hierarchy. See a possibility. Your curiosity is your compass. Your enthusiasm is your engine. Your fresh perspective is the spark the status quo is silently begging for. The world isn't just run by the experts. It's being reinvented by the courageous, the curious, and the relentless. You have that power. Now, go find your stage and shine. Your story is the one we'll all be reading about next. Your moment starts now. You've just witnessed the power of potential. You've seen how a single opportunity, seized with relentless drive, can rewrite a story. But this isn't just about Alex. This is about you. That flicker of excitement you felt, that nod of recognition at the challenges overcome, that whisper in your mind saying, "I could do that too." That is not a coincidence. That is your potential calling. It's your turn to stop reading about someone else's journey and start architecting your own. So, I'm throwing down the gauntlet. I want to challenge you. Don't let this inspiration fade into the background of your day. Bring your story into the light. In the comments below, tell me one thing. What is the one skill you are committing to mastering, or the one fear you are deciding to conquer, to launch your own legendary career? Your story, your first step, could be the very spark that ignites someone else's fire. Let's build a community of go-getters right here. Share your commitment, and while you're there, subscribe and join us. This isn't the end of a story, it's the beginning of a movement. Let's rise together.